Hello, people, and here we are tonight with the local band Time Machine, starring Jeff Marklin and Matthew Bell.
Good afternoon.
Hello, world.
I'm here too. It's Mr. Snyder. Well,
Hi,
Scott.
Mr. Snyder.
I guess I go by Scott here.
Sorry, Scott. I seem to have forgotten you. Given that you're out of my peripheral.
Hello. Are we all set up?
Oh, I'm also here. I'm Juan.
Hello, Juan.
Would you guys like to tell me a little bit about yourselves? Who you are, what you do?
I'm Jeff Marklin. I'm a high school teacher at Arcadia High School. I'm in the history department, and I teach mainly world geography and also a little bit of world history.
Okay.
I'm Matt Bell. I currently teach 7th grade language arts at Nandua Middle School, but I also did many years at Arcadia Middle School, and I've been working in the county about 20 years, all in the war for literacy, basically.
What a war it is.
It's a difficult war, isn't it? It's an ongoing war.
We all have our parts.
A bloody battle.
Hopefully not.
Bravely fought.
Since this is our first time doing
Red
this,
ink, folks. He's talking about red ink alone on essays. No blood.
this is our first time doing this. I'm Scott. I'm Mr. Snyder, and I'm a teacher at Arcadia High School, along with Mr. Marklin here, and I'm just helping out with the podcast best I can.
I am Kai Ken, and I'm the person who interviews everybody.
The illustrious student, Kai.
I believe both of you were in the local band Time Machine, correct?
That's right.
You believe correctly.
And what is your position, Jeff?
I am the guitarist and vocalist.
And what is your position, Matt?
I am the drummer. Part-time demon.
Okay, Jeff. And how long have you been playing guitar?
I've been playing guitar since I was about 14, 15 years old, and I'm now 32. So that makes it 18, 17 years of playing guitar.
Okay, and were you taught or were you self-taught?
I am about 97% self-taught. So my dad was a guitarist, and he had a bunch of guitars laying around the house. And when I became a teenager, at a certain point, I wanted to start to learn. So he showed me a few chords and one blues scale, and then I taught myself after that. So basically, I'd like to say I had one guitar lesson, and then I've been self-taught ever since.
Okay, and you decided to start playing guitar because your father did?
I've always had like some sort of musical inclination, and I think he's a part of that. But it wasn't so much like I want to be like my dad, you know. It was just something that was around and something that I had witnessed, and eventually just wanted to try my hand at it myself.
You were just interested in it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I also liked a lot of rock music and thought singers were cool, and that what they did was really neat and fun and cool. And eventually I wanted to start doing that myself.
Okay, Matt, and when did you start playing the drums?
Sure. As far back as I can remember, just taking in every bit of music that came my way, every genre, whether it was, my parents, other family members, church, whatever it happened to be, and just tapping and loving the rhythm and needing it, almost like a vitamin every day. 4th grade is when it got the most serious. That's really, 3rd and 4th grade is when our band program began up in New York State. So I started on the snare drum, and as it evolves, you end up playing the bass drum and the bass and the snare together, and the cymbals, and then the tom-toms, and then you work your way into marching band and jazz band and all that kind of stuff. And whenever I was a part of that, I felt the most alive in my school day, where everything else was, rhetoric and catechism and such. That was the stuff that really made us feel creative and brought us together, and performing became a big part of my life, and it was something that I longed for ever since those moments. And now we're in a position where we can share this with our students and show them that this can become a lifestyle for them as well, as a hobby, as a skill, and something that can also make you some money. So it's lucrative in that way. So I've been playing ever since, and the last time I played was last night. I'd imagine my drum set needs several Advil because it was a thick session of a beatdown. So
Where were you guys playing?
I was playing in my man cave.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I need one of those.
Okay, and why did you decide to play the drums? You were just all interested in them? Why that specific instrument?
Just as a natural music lover and somebody who was always tapping and looking into the rhythm and had a little extra energy, it gave me something to focus and put that into. and to try to, you know, organize time and manage the band as you know, whatever group that I was a part of at that time, whether it was a school band or like the teenage band that I was in that did some recording and some concerts and that sort of thing. So.
Okay, thank you. Jeff, I believe
You're
you
welcome.
are a teacher at Arcadia High School, correct?
That is correct. Real quick, since Matt here mentions being able to share this with our students, that is a huge part of the pleasure, I think, for us being teachers. But we will also be playing at it's back to school night, right?
Yeah, it's a Title I night down at Nandua Middle School.
At Nandua Middle School, we will be providing musical entertainment.
Yeah,
The
it's going to be
back-to-school
great.
night,
It's a
yeah.
block party. They're going to have food out there. The band is pretty
Yep.
good, I've heard.
Yep.
But I'd like to thank Sukora Owens for setting us up with that opportunity. She's done several things down at Nandua to let us have a spotlight on this and to make the events better, and again to show students that this can be a reality for them as well.
And last year we performed for his students right before Thanksgiving break, I believe.
Yes.
And that was awesome. And we're going to do the same thing again, I sure hope.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
No,
Wonderful.
we're on.
And of course, we are the backing band for the rock and roll show here at Arcadia High School as well. So lots of stuff that students can interact with.
Nice. It's really great that you are showing them that it is possible, because I feel like so many kids, they don't see possibilities in front of them and they don't even consider it as an option. And then when they do see it, that makes it more likely that they take that option.
Thank
so
you,
thank
yeah.
you for doing that. That's great.
One thing that Matt has shared with me, and I just think it's like really good words of wisdom, is like if you just go for something, like you'll be surprised what you can actually achieve if you just actually try to do
Take
it.
the first step.
So-
Yeah.
Nice. I appreciate that.
Kai, I think you had a question for me though. I'm sorry.
Yes. What do you teach, and how long have you been teaching it?
I teach mostly world geography. I did kind of the math yesterday, and 95% plus of the teaching I've done here thus far has been strictly world geography. I taught one World History 2 course last year, which you were in.
Yes.
And I did have a great time teaching that. And I'll be teaching World History 1 for the first time next semester. This is my third year teaching at Arcadia High School, and it's also my third year teaching ever. I never was a teacher before I stepped foot in this
Well, you're
school.
off to a great start.
Trial by fire. But thank you.
That's how it works here.
Trial by fire,
Trial by
bird,
fire.
right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Hey-o.
You said. And why did you decide to become a teacher of all professions? Why not a guitarist?
I don't remember exactly the point where it was, but I remember being in high school and not caring very much, but being able to do just fine, like get decent grades like C's and B's without putting in too much effort. But I loved being in my history class. Absolutely loved it. That was the sort of thing where I would constantly be looking at the clock, not because it was like, okay, yay, class is almost over. It was like, oh no, class is almost over. That sort of thing. That's how much I loved being in that class. Then when I went to college, I studied history some more and wanted to be a history professor. Eventually, I realized that that's a terrible idea and decided to be a high school teacher instead. So I ended up finishing a master's in history from Westchester University, my hometown. And within a few months, I got the job here.
Nice. Do you have any area of history that you particularly like?
I like a little bit of everything, honestly. I like ancient, I like modern, I love Greece, and I love Rome. I've been researching for the World I course I'll be teaching, so it's a lot of prehistory, so humans as hunter-gatherers, but then early civilizations like Sumer and Akkad, and the invention of writing, the invention of cities. I just find it fascinating. So
Yeah, the Sumer are really interesting.
yeah.
Yeah.
And Matt, how long have you been teaching, and what do you teach?
Somewhere around 1,000 years and a little bit of everything. It's actually technically year 17, I believe. And like I said before, some at Arcadia Middle School, some at Nandua Middle School, and believe it or not, at Stephen Decatur High School for a couple of years. So I've been at it a long time. What's my motive in becoming a teacher or an English teacher? There's a couple of things that factor into that. School is for so many people is a safe haven, and there are mentors and coaches for them there, and everybody has someone who cares about them and is trying to push them in the right way. And I'll be quite blunt with you. I had a volatile youth. That time period was very difficult. It's difficult for everyone, but there were some factors that were unique in my story. And I realized that even though I did get in some trouble at school, some fighting and some probably some talking back and maybe not doing all of my homework and all that stuff, that I felt safe there. And there was a structure to it, and there was a love to it, and there was also pizza involved, so that kept me there. But now it's my turn, even at a low pay to return that favor to the thousands of students, hundreds of students that I interact with. If I can do that for someone else or for multiple somebodies, that kind of adds on to my paycheck, even though it doesn't fill my, pay my bills or feed my child. It feeds my heart and keeps me doing it. It's far from an easy task, but it's a valiant one. It's one that I take very seriously, and it's my turn to give back, and that's really why I'm doing this still.
It's
Okay, Matt,
fantastic.
I want
Well
to thank
put.
you for your stories of hooliganism as a young man.
Good word, Kai.
Alright,
I think, colleagues, is it safe to say that our financial paycheck isn't amazing, but our satisfaction paycheck, for me personally, is the highest I've ever had?
Absolutely.
All right, cool.
yes.
Glad to
Yeah.
hear that.
I think we all have, a few students within even recent memory that we can look back on and actually say to ourselves with confidence that we made a difference in their lives, and that's powerful.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Okay, and Jeff, what in your teaching career has been the biggest hurdle?
Learning how to teach, because I'm still kind of new at it. Learning how to manage a class, I think, at Arcadia High School, because it's incredibly difficult to learn when a classroom is just total chaos and it's too loud to even hear the teacher, or people aren't paying attention, and there's good students suffering because of that, and the bad students might be better if they could just focus. So if you want to ask, there's still plenty of students here who had me my first semester teaching. I can give you a list, you can go talk to them. They would tell you it might not have been that great, but I've gotten a lot better at managing classroom over the last few years, and things are running a lot smoother.
Yeah, I remember my first year, and there was nothing but pure unbridled chaos and rage in the
Yeah.
classroom.
Mm-hmm.
Books were flying,
Yep.
desks, people were
Papers,
getting
tears.
elbow dropped off of desks.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It was pretty crazy.
Your class was actually really good.
I don't know
So
what you're talking
I remember
about.
my first
Nothing but
semester
chaos.
was nothing but chaos, and then here comes my second semester, and I have a class in my second block, and Kai is in my second block, and I'm like, am I still teaching at the same school? All these kids are so nice, and I don't need to yell at them to shut up. They're just shutting up anyway. It's amazing.
Well,
So-
I think you probably got a little bit better at it. And for example, one question I would ask is, did your lectures tend to get longer or shorter?
I don't know. They started off being really long,
Uh-huh.
then I started breaking them up,
Yeah.
then they got too short, and now they're longer, but I still do breaks.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's sort of like long, short.
Yeah,
balance.
for me personally,
Yeah.
I can relate to what you're
Okay.
saying about it being so loud and everything. For me, I would be so exhausted at the end of the day because I was just lecturing like the entire time and then giving assignments out. And then I found out, I'm sure as you have too, that it's like when you shorten the lecture and you just give more things to do, especially for like fun things to do, it's easier on everybody,
Yep.
including us.
Yep.
And then I noticed that you play your guitar a lot in class,
A good bit.
kids really love that, by the way. And I really liked it. You actually came in my class one time when I had to step out for a moment, and I came back and you were playing the guitar. That was really cool, man.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Good vibe to have in the school.
Awesome. Appreciate that.
Well, I thank you, Jeff. Matt, what has been your biggest hurdle in your teaching career?
Phew, this is a track meet. There's lots of hurdles in teaching, baby. Let me tell you. I'll try to pinpoint a couple of them. One of them has to do with the standards of learning, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. In a lot of ways, this system was set up to make people fail, and I don't think that's what education should be about. Several years ago, we had a policy that, let's say a student came in as a 5th grade level reader, no matter what grade they're in. Let's say they're in 7th grade and they're coming to me as a 5th grade level reader. If that person gained 2 years of experience or reading growth and became, they went from a 5 to a 7, but they didn't pass their SOL, they'd be labeled a failure. To me, if you make 2 years of gains within one, you're absolutely slaying it, and you should not be minimized for your efforts or for this evolution that you've had. So I have a problem with that. We have students coming from other nations that are brand new to our language and some of our ways, and to put them into this meat grinder with not much reward on the other end, that breaks my heart. It breaks my heart for them. We're not here to make people feel minimalized. We're here to make people feel empowered and to see that growth and to celebrate that. So issues related to testing, the non-rewards that are related to it, the empirical nature separates from really looking at a human as a spirit and as an individual or even a collective. So there are many wars that our students and our teachers go through related to the testing scenario that make this an extremely challenging career that is hurdles and landmines. So that's what I would say.
Okay, well, I thank you for that, Matt.
You're welcome.
I would just like you to know that in 4th grade, I had a 12th grade reading level.
That does not surprise me.
No.
And here you are running an NPR. Questions
when I was
and
in,
answer session.
just a little thing about me. When I was in 4th grade, my teacher was a mean old hag, I'll have to say, at
Oh my.
my elementary school. I had a 10th grade reading level in 4th grade in the beginning of the year, and to pass, you had to go up 2 years in reading level. And she actually made me cry a little bit because she yelled at me, which I found very unreasonable because I was 6 years ahead of my reading level anyway. Why does it matter? You know, I was in 4th grade with a 10th grade reading level. You should be proud. I shouldn't have to go up 2 levels. But like you said, because of the criteria, I had to go up 2 levels to be considered passing. And so I went up 2 levels and never had to take another one of those tests because I couldn't go any
Right.
higher.
Well, I'm glad, and it looks like you're thriving. And on the other, the other foot there, that teacher was expected to make you grow those 2 years, even though you were superior to your other classmates at that time. So it wasn't a lovely experience for her either. And I again, here you are talking about being moved to tears in a negative way over reading performance when you were an advanced scholar for your age. So you can see that these issues have been a part of this whole business for far too long. I would like to tell you that they would end, but we do have a time machine, but I'm not going to tell you the future today.
I mean, we don't want to create a time paradox either, though. That would be very irresponsible of us. But yeah, I agree. Your teacher probably should have been a little bit more gracious and a little bit more thankful. I mean, we are very regularly dealing with students who read at a elementary school reading level here at this high school. And so when we have a really avid reader and a skilled reader, it is very much a pleasure. So I'm thankful for you.
Ken, I thank you very much for the words from both of you.
Sure.
Jeff, are you in any relationship? Are you married? Do you have children?
I have a girlfriend. We are not married. We've been dating, so we just passed over, I think, 15 months together. So it's still a newer
congrats.
relationship.
Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah, we're a little over a year now. We live together outside of Salisbury. I don't have any children, but we have 2 cats and a dog, and one of our cats is a kitten named Rigby who is about to turn 5 months old. She's
name for a
growing
cat.
very, very fast. Thank you. She's growing very fast, and she is, I think, a lioness at heart. She is fearsome, but very sweet as well. I'll
Okay,
show
well,
you pictures
thank you.
later, Kai.
Matt, are you in a relationship or married? And I heard you had a child.
Oh, wait a minute. Nobody told me.
Surprise! We have the testing results here.
Whoa! Yes, absolutely. I am married to the best educator in the county, hands down.
Allegedly.
Nope, it's a fact. So, Mrs. Bell here at Arcadia High, who is just the superior intellect and just a golden spirit, is somebody that I've been with since high school. So I've been very blessed in that way.
So high school sweetheart?
You could call it that. Yes. When you found your best friend and you found just an immaculate soul and individual who cares about you and cares about everyone in a very similar manner, that's somebody you want to be side by side when the final sunset reaches. We also have a daughter who is 10 years old, and my greatest pride is the things that we have been able, the experiences that we have been able to give her. Both my wife and I grew up in a very similar area, upstate New York, and we dated in high school, and neither of us had the availability for international travel, and none of us were drinking liquid gold, but neither are we now. But our daughter has gone to many countries, far more than we did when we were children. And when I sleep at night, I may not be a millionaire, but I know that we have given her experiences that are going to cultivate, hopefully, this open-minded, culturally inclusive juggernaut of intellectuality as we go forward. And also, to be a kind, gentle, caring soul like her mother.
Okay, thank you for that. I'll have to say, I don't know anybody who enjoys drinking liquid gold. Scott, do you have anything to add to this? Are you in a relationship? Are you married?
I
And if so,
am
how
married.
long have
Yes,
you been married?
yes. I've been married. I was recently married.
Congratulations.
Yep. I was married in June of this year. Yep.
Congrats.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anything to say about your relationship?
Yeah.
yourself?
So her name is Maria, and we met online, and the way it kind of happened is we were playing video games together. Actually, we're both gamers.
Well, isn't that cute?
Yeah, we're both gamers at heart, and we ended up in a guild together, which is like a group of gamers that get together. And basically, just a relationship started to form. And eventually, I was like, "All right, well, I love this person, so I've got to go see them." And I had never been out of the country before, ever. And so, and she had never been out of her country either, which was actually in Venezuela. So, kind of dangerous for me to go there.
Difficult times in Venezuela.
So she had to figure out a way of getting to Colombia, and I had to figure, and I obviously that was easy for me. I just had to buy a plane ticket. But she had to literally bribe a military officer in the Venezuelan army to transport her across the country, and she ended up he had to leave for some reason, and she miraculously met somebody at the border that she knew who offered her a ride, and she made it. And this was out, like, she didn't have phone reception. I didn't know where she was. It was really quite terrifying, but she made it, and we met, and then the rest was all
Now
history.
you're both happily
Congratulations.
married here.
Now we're happily married. She's here, and thinking about being a teacher, actually.
Fantastic. We
Yeah,
could
she's
use them.
Okay.
She's almost finished her engineering degree, so she's just got like a semester to go, and she'll be
That sounds quite providential with the border stuff there. It's just happening upon someone who could help.
It was-
and
yeah, it's like
and there's a decent amount of land between those
Yes.
two countries. That's not a small border.
Yeah, so there's a little town called Cucuta, and in this town there's a lot of Venezuelans come in, and they barter there basically.
Sure.
And she just happened to see somebody there and knew them, and so very lucky, very fortunate.
Awesome.
Yeah.
She
Right,
fought a
well-
war of her own to get to you.
Yeah, it was like a Disney movie, really.
Kind of funny.
Yeah, thanks for asking. So yeah, really inspiring stuff with your music and how you incorporate that into your teaching. Yeah, I would say for, I wish I knew you better, but for Mr. Markland, just personally knowing him, I feel like the vibe that you give off when you come to school, to me, as a teacher, it's sort of almost an antitoxin.
Oh.
I've always felt like,
That's very kind.
Thank you.
Next,
Thank you.
a
I've always
lot
felt
of
toxicity
shenanigans.
is a very hard thing to avoid in the workplace.
is,
You know,
yeah.
it can be very easy to complain. It can be very easy to come in every day like, man, I didn't get enough sleep tonight, and man, we sure don't get. I don't think any teacher in the U.S. really, well, aside from a few wealthy regions, most teachers do not get paid enough. It's just the reality of our profession. And you could let that get you down, and you could let the hours get you down, you could let the work that you have to take home get you down. There's a lot that you could let get you down, and it's easy to complain about it. It's easy to like talk to other teachers and just let that negativity drive you down a spiral. And that toxicity can, I mean, this is our life, you know? We come into work every day, this is our life. And we can choose to like be upset about that and ruin our lives with that perspective, or try to be more upbeat, and I think that's what you bring. Every time I see you, got a smile on your face, you know all the kids by name, you're playing a guitar, having a good time, and that is an antitoxin, and I want to say, as your coworker, I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Scott.
so
I
do students.
appreciate the kind words.
Yeah.
I'll keep doing what I'm doing. I mean, it is difficult working here, but I really do love this job, and I love this institution. So I'm having a great
You
time.
have to. You have to. You
Yeah,
have to love
you really
teaching if
should,
you're going to
yeah.
last.
I agree. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But thank you.
I have to say, if I was ever a teacher when I got older, I couldn't. I'd
Join
probably throw a
us.
chair at a student. I couldn't handle a room of little hooligans shouting and doing this and that. And
What you have to
whatnot,
do is
and
you have to understand it comes from
creating
someplace.
chaos.
You have to, like
Mhm.
most of the time when
Not
somebody
take
is
it too
having
personal, yeah.
there's a reason for most things, and whether that reason is, like an immediate thing that's just happened or a trauma response from something that's happened in earlier in their life.
Yep.
There's always a reason. So you just have to learn. And this isn't just for teaching. This is just relationships in general. Like beyond teaching, it's just that's how you try to understand people.
And you don't know what's going on necessarily with them. Kai, I will tell you, if I was fresh out of college at age 23 and I tried to become a teacher here, I absolutely would not have made it.
No.
But I started teaching
You don't
here.
think so?
Oh, no way. The 23-year-old me and 32-year-old me are the same person, but I've grown quite a bit in the last 10 years. And I started this job at age 30. So when it's easier when you're a little older. There's no way I would have done this okay at 23.
Yeah. 23 is 23. What was 23 like for you? Where were you up to at that? Were you still in college?
I was finishing college and I was moving out of my parents' house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, I was getting out of college and looking for jobs, and I was a naturalist for a little bit, like a camp. I'm sure. Have you guys worked at camps any time in your life? No. Pretty common job. That's why I asked. It's a pretty common job for people who just get out of college, and for me, it was stressful. And then I got done with that, and it was like, you get a job here, you get a job here, part time, and then eventually, we all eventually are. For me, I was asked to teach by a principal at Nandua, and that's what kind of brought me in. What was it that kind of brought you into teaching? What was your decision based off of? Like what happened for you to become a teacher?
At some point, I wanted to do something I think that would help the community, and I knew that I could do history okay and be decently articulate.
So what led you to Arcadia in particular?
Oh, well, I have no education background. I just have degrees in history, so no teaching experience, no official teaching license or certification. And this place hired me, so that was it.
And what led you to where did you teach first?
Yeah, so like I said, I grew up in upstate New York, and when I finished college, I had degrees in English, but not necessarily in education, similar to Mr. Marklin. However, 23 and 24-year-old me jumped right into battle, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. I didn't have to wait till 30. So,
you made that pretty conscious choice early on that's what you wanted to do.
Well, that really happened in high school when I realized that I had a knack for, connecting words and that I could.
You're very eloquent, I gotta say.
Yeah. I appreciate that. Whether it was battling people in Scrabble, at home and wanting to be superior that way, I always wanted to add on the spiciest vocabulary that I could. Also, when it came to, hey, I need to do something for my life now. Like I said, I wanted to help the community. I needed to make a decent amount of money, and I did well with English in high school, and in college, I was hired to be a tutor. And most college students don't have a whole lot of extra scratch in their pockets. And a professor that I still am in contact with, one who's published millions of books and is a real, real big deal, she said, Matt, you have this gift for helping other students in class take these towering, skills and daunting in texts and such and breaking them down in a way that others can understand them. Would you be a tutor? I said, well, to explain what that's like. And when she said something about money, I was like, yeah, I'll be there. And I realized that I felt that I had a gift and I wanted to share that gift and I wanted to return. And, I've always wanted to be like Stephen King in a lot of ways. And he started out as a teacher and then wrote a ton of books. Well, I have 6 books that I've published, and every single year I am very, very proud when my students aim to do the same thing. I just had a young lady, I've only had her for 4 weeks, and she's already been inspired to give me a book that she's writing on her own that she wants to turn into the real deal. Also from Nandua Middle School, just last year, I had 15 of my poets selected to be published in a North Carolinian anthology.
Wow, nice.
And I believe over my whole span here, I've had about 100 students selected and published in Pine Tree Poetry out of North Carolina, and I'm super, super proud of that because that's what gets the ball rolling, that little validation. The earlier the better that you can do this, and it is an option for you. We're currently reading a Miles Morales novel in my 7th grade classes, and we just got to around page 50, and the unique figurative language is just an explosion on the page, and they realize, I can ask them, hey, what happened 3 pages ago? How did they describe this? How did they describe this thing here? And they will know because it stuck out and was so unique. And that's really what I want them to strive to be. No cliches, nothing you've ever heard before. Push yourself, compete with everybody, including who you were yesterday. I want to instill that in my writers, in my speakers, in my readers, and I want them to go and attack whatever their dreams happen to be, even if we have dreams that are dissimilar. That is my mission.
How can they
Cheers.
not succeed with that kind of energy?
I'll have to say,
Thank you.
The
kind
only
of
thing,
support, yeah.
the only things I've ever really written is a cheesy little Halloween story, because that's what the assignment was. It was near Halloween, as it is now, in the month of October. And wrote a cheesy little Halloween story about a house, a creepy house with a vampire in it.
I'd like to read it
So,
sometime.
It was kind of neat. Wrote it a couple years back. I'll have to say, when I was in elementary school, I never imagined I hated reading with a burning passion when I was in elementary school. I just would not do it.
You did it so well, though.
I believe I started reading in pre-K. I always knew how to read. I just never wanted to read. I always thought when I was little I would just despise reading.
You started reading in pre-K?
Yeah.
No wonder your vocab is so awesome.
I've-
You're so advanced.
I've always.
I didn't
reading.
learn the alphabet until kindergarten, I don't think.
Has your status on reading changed? Not necessarily your level, but your likelihood, or have you found text now that you're like, okay, it's no longer boring? This
Oh
is
man, I
not-
read all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
I've read most of the. When I was in middle school, I read almost every book in the fantasy section of the book. We had these little things we would do in elementary school where you would read a certain amount of books. You would what was it called, AR learning or something like that, and you would you'd answer questions about a book and you get points for it. And I my score alone, I believe, when I was in elementary school, was more than the rest of the kids in the school combined in the reading class.
Testing, back to the testing culture thing, this is one of the things that puts students off of reading. If it's not about joy, if it's not about exploration, if it doesn't fit your interests, and it's only can you do A, B, C, or D, and what's your score going to be at the end, that's one of the reasons why we have disenfranchised so many readers in the younger years. And also, middle schoolers and high schoolers that aren't reading addicts now, that may happen for them later in life, but one of our truest missions is to expose them that no matter what you are interested in out there, you can find reading about it, you can find great text about it, you can write about it yourself, and that can be your vein. Or everything else, you may not really enjoy that, and that's another one of our missions.
So I think one of the things that turned me off from reading books as an elementary schooler was the fact that I couldn't read the books I wanted because they were above the level that they would let me read. Because there was like 5th, 6th grade level books, and I'm in 3rd grade, and I want to read them. They have I think it was varied the level of the book to how many chapters or pages it had in it. So a 300-page book was 5th grade reading level, and I wanted to read that 300-page book in 3rd grade, not 5th grade. I didn't want to wait 2 years to read this book. I'd already read the first one, but that one had I can't remember now, probably 100 less pages. And it really upset me that when I wanted to read this book, they wouldn't let me read that book. To this day, I do dislike writing. I enjoy writing about the things that I like, but a subject that is given to me by a teacher that I do not care about, I will not want to write about. I feel
Very understandable.
as a teacher, you have to do your job, of course, and they have to learn this criteria, but if you assign a middle schooler, a high schooler, some random subject that they've never really learned about and have just no general interest in, the writing that's going to come out of that is not going to be from the heart. It's going to be because they had to do it, not because they wanted to do it. The quality of the writing is going to be significantly lower. I feel like that's how mine came out when they gave me a topic for something I just didn't care to do. I will say that a couple teachers really try their absolute hardest to make things fun for you and make sure that you enjoy something while still teaching you something.
Sounds
And
like Jeff
I
Markland to me.
really
I hope
appreciate
so.
those things.
May I weigh in on something just for a moment? So, Time Machine, we've been rolling for about a year, and we've made significant progress during that progress in that year. And I want to give a shout out to Mr. Matthews and to Mrs. Walker for their tandem and everyone else who's related to the rock and roll show. I've gone as a fan numerous times, was asked to drum a few times and it didn't work out. And I'll tell you, not the show from last year, but the year before I came, and I was excited. Former students, teachers that I know, all involved, and again, bringing my child out for these things. And everyone was fantastic, but I see this new cat up there dancing around, great energy, killing that guitar. And I was like, who is this? And my wife was like, oh, that's Mr. Markland. He's this really cool history teacher. Everybody's loving him. He's up there. I'm like, look at this guy go. And what ended up happening was I ended up Facebook requesting him at some time, like, hey, you're this great guitarist, you're this awesome teacher, you work with my wife. And through somewhere, I found out that he was also very, very interested in sandwiches and like artisanal cooking and preparing of food and all this sort of thing. I was like, oh, so this cat is nasty on the guitar. He's a great vocalist. He's got all this teachery energy and he enjoys sandwiches. I'm gonna message him. Hey man, you like sandwiches and rock and roll? Do you want to start a
gotta
band?
hang out, yeah. Mhm.
And
Was that literally the message?
Pretty
it was
much.
pretty
Very
close.
in spirit, yes, absolutely. I
It's-
think it was like, dude, between your guitar playing and your love of sandwiches, I think we need to be friends or something like that.
Yeah.
And I still haven't made you a sandwich because I'm a you know what.
He has
So,
to make me a cheesesteak.
I
before
owe a
school
lot.
ends.
I owe a lot of people a lot of food. Oh man, and we were playing within a couple of months, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so that's
And the
what
rest
it
is
is.
history, yeah.
You know, I really like what you mentioned before about you've got to go for it. Even if we have 100 years, we're going to want more time, and most of us aren't
yeah.
going to be lucky enough to have that. We could have waited longer to get more songs or to evolve or become tighter or any of those sorts of things. But, you know, as a fisherman, I know you don't catch anything unless you've got bait in the water. And in my years and in my days, I am always going to go after the things that I want. And I want to thank Jeff very much for making this next piece and this band and its next livelihood and this financial, it's not quite a cash cow, but a cash kitten here
It's
right
a
now.
grocery bill cow. you
But
know.
and I also like to thank you for inviting us here to ask us all these questions today and take a little look inside the mechanism known as Time Machine.
And if I could interject here as well. First off, I don't know, Kai, if you remember on the reading thing, you would always have a book in my class the first time I taught you, and I would have to tell you to put it away. You might remember what I said. I was like, Kai, I'm so happy to see you reading, but we got to do class stuff right now. You know, I love it when there's something constructive distracting our students, so it isn't just like TikTok or phones or stupid drama or anything like that. And I wish I saw more students with books in class. I really do. There's not a whole lot.
I always
Yes.
felt like a teacher would feel significantly better if I was reading a book adverse to looking at my phone.
Anytime I'm
Yeah.
at the beginning of the semester, when I'm kind of like, we all do it, we look out and we try to guess, like based on behaviors, like who's gonna pass the SOL. And it's unfortunate we have to think like that, but we do. And for me, the second I see a kid pull out a book to read it
It's a very
recreationally,
good indicator.
I'm like, he got it.
Excellent.
I haven't read
They
a
got
book
it.
in this class yet, but that's just because I'm very down in the dumps for books to read in the library here.
It's a very
we
small
gotta do
library.
It's
yeah.
it's a very, very large struggle I've had in my 3 years of high school.
Should we suggest him a book to
have
read?
been just an absolute slog of like.
I can bring you a few.
I
things.
feel like I've read most of the good books.
What's your
some,
favorite
some
genre?
classics.
Usually I read like fantasy books or something
Fantasy?
like that.
Oh, we got some
you
good
know?
ones down
Yeah.
there.
You
have to talk to Miss Moore. Like what kind of fantasy? High fantasy or like just fiction in general?
just like fiction in general. Like I believe the last book I read, it was about a knight errant and a squire.
Oh, was it Red Horse? Blood
No.
Red Horse? They have one like that. It's called Blood Red Horse. Check it out if you like that.
I don't enjoy heroines as much as just regular male protagonists. just a personal preference of mine. It has been since I was little. I don't get me wrong. I've read some great books with hearing lines, but some of them are just kind of like, like you tried a little too hard in this subject or that subject. Or some books like start great, but man, they end badly.
Isn't
like,
that the worst?
It's like they
Bad
ran out of
ending.
time or
Yeah.
something.
Mhm.
Like they just, it was a flashlight that ran out of battery.
Mm-hmm.
It just dimmed down
That's a good
until
way
it
to put it.
died.
Yeah.
So in the recent years, I haven't read a whole lot in recent years. I read like every single book in the fantasy section, and I also enjoy some sci-fi, like I'm a hacker, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I've read some books like that.
Cool.
Wide variety of books. I've read mystery books, like murder mysteries, stuff like that. I am a personal enjoyer of books and believe I am an avid reader. Just hard to find good reading material sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Talk around. I mean, your teachers have things, and I could probably dig around and see if there's anything that might interest you. There's one other thing I wanted to say, kind of in tandem with what Matt had said, shouting out Miss Mel Walker and Mr. Matthews, Mr. Chris Matthews here, because before I moved to the
interview
shore,
him for any apparent reason.
that'll happen eventually.
Yeah,
It better.
will.
I think it should. Hopefully, you can edit this out if you want. But before I moved to the shore, my musical life had been very much in the doldrums. Like I'd pick up my acoustic guitar from once in a very rare occasion and maybe play for a few minutes. But then I came down here, and the rock and roll show was an opportunity for me, and I ended up having to practice so much that I probably became the best guitarist that I had ever been. And also started using my voice in a really rough rock and roll fashion that I had never had the confidence to do before. And that has just very rapidly blown up into this wonderful band that I find myself a part of, which is just so much fun and so satisfying on so many levels. So I appreciate your very kind words about my job here, Scott, but like this place has been awesome for me. As an individual as well.
So it's a
and
great
so for
place.
the kids in here, you never stop growing. Like, don't ever think like, okay, I'm an adult now, so this is who I am. For absolutely not. Like, you can always learn something new. You can always continue to grow. Your futures are wide open.
Mr. Jeff. I've been getting called old since I was like 12. It's very saddening.
Like an old soul sort of thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
I walked into the grocery store and I was humming and singing, "Let that lady sing, doo-da, doo-da." And I walk into the store humming that. And she's like, "You got an old soul." I'm like, why?
That's okay.
Wait. I'm like, man, I'm not old.
Do what
As young as I'll ever be.
You
Just
should
wait,
do what
just
makes you
wait.
happy, and
I mean,
darn
like,
the consequences as long as you're not doing anything wrong.
I've always like enjoyed like older music,
Good. That's.
like,
I'm happy to hear
rock
that.
and stuff like that.
Nobody
And
likes jazz anymore.
I even listen to like Beethoven
Good.
from time to time.
No one
classical
knows.
music.
No one listens to any of that.
And,
That's awesome.
I just feel I feel as if more people should listen to older music because some of the like you'll hear a song nowadays and they'll just say the same 2 words 300 different times
Yeah.
in different tones, and it's like, why? Like, this isn't a song. You just said a couple words and hit repeat.
Right. But the
like-
cool kids are gonna like it, and I'm gonna make a lot of
Yeah,
money.
and it's like that's hot garbage. Why
Mhm.
did you make that? But it's the sadness of music today.
It
is that
really is
it
pretty
has
awful.
bottom of the barrel.
Not the same soul.
Would you guys, some of my colleagues, would you agree that bad songs from back in the day were better than the bad songs of today?
Oh, for
Do you
sure.
think that's a safe assessment? Yeah, like very much better.
Songs I thought were bad back in the day, I
Or,
actually
like,
appreciate
yeah,
now.
uh-huh.
Yeah. I wouldn't be caught dead when I was young listening to like Backstreet. But you play that on radio, I'm
Yeah,
gonna
you put
jam
on,
out.
you put on.
Oh,
I
yeah.
Want It That Way, and it's like this has a great hook, actually. Jeez.
Yeah.
I Want It That Way has always been a good song, and I will hear no slander about I
I'm
Want
not
It That Way.
slandering it at all. Yeah.
Anyways,
a
that's
good
the point. So, music as it is today is in shambles. You still have some of the older
artists.
artists making really good songs. Me personally, I listen to most genres of music, whether it be classical, rap, country music, jazz, rock, metal. I listen to most music, unbiased to any of them. You know, if you put a good song in front of me, I'll listen to it. You know, maybe a personal preference. I might not like this artist as much as I like this artist, or I might not like this artist at all, just based off of their voice or their vibe, because different people like different things. Yeah, no, and I am. That's just my view on music as it is today.
It's cool to be eclectic. Look underground for good music. There's always good music. You just might have to look a little harder for it.
Well, guys, I thank you for your time today, and it has been a pleasure talking to both of you, and it has been a pleasure meeting you.
Likewise, great job, Kai. Wonderful. Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us, Mr. Kai. This is great.
All right, and this will
Keep
be
it up.
the end of the second meeting of the Phoenix podcast.